Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the 127 podcast. And today we are going to be reviewing
Thunderbolts!
Thunderbolts. I am your host, Hamza Bujala, and join with me today, a special guest, Musa Ali, who you will know as Waleed in The Shining Optimism of EF Manar.
Why Waleed? why have we chosen as Waleed to be the entry point for people to know who I am? Why is that the reference?
Well, yeah, actually, I say that. Yeah. Technically, Moose is also in like a Seven Sisters vlog I did before EF Manar. But you know what? EF Manar is your debut on the channel. That is
No,
that
no, no,
is
no. Technically, I was in the music video.
yeah, but that's not my channel.
Oh,
So we shot a
shit.
music video for a client, and that's on a different channel. Um,
I'm never going to escape Waleed.
you're never going to escape the
I'm never
lead,
going to
even though
escape
you're
Waleed.
DPing Singer's Tale. You're not going to escape the lead. So, Thunderbolts, Marvel Studios' latest film. Gotta say, how are you feeling about the Marvel franchise before Thunderbolts? Because before Thunderbolts, I was like, yeah, sometimes they make something good and enjoyable. Sometimes it's just whatever. Like, I like Deadpool and Wolverine. I liked Daredevil Born Again. But, like, the franchise as a whole, I didn't really care at the minute. I feel like Marvel itself has just stayed in the stratosphere, the cultural zeitgeist for too long, in my opinion, which is crazy because I'm a comic book nerd. Like, I would want that to be present.
I'm thinking, is this more related to post Endgame or is this as a whole? Because if we're talking about as a whole, they've been hit and miss for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Post Endgame, there's no hits.
Hey, there's like what
There's films we enjoy.
yeah,
Let's be like empirical with it. There's films that we love
and that made money.
and that made money. That doesn't necessarily mean they're great films. And then obviously by threshold, some of them are good films. Let's like be fair. And TV wise, yeah, they've covered some interesting topics and they've been, I would say, again, hit or miss with them. But as a whole, I think they've done one thumbs up, one thumbs down. It's very
Yeah,
50-50.
I could say that. Saying like every Marvel like calendar, like every year there's like 2 to 3 Marvel movies that come out. So I kind of get your ratio of like one is a thumbs up, one's a thumbs down, one's a thumbs up, one's a thumbs down, or sometimes it's
If we're
two thumbs
lucky,
up.
sometimes it's two. Yeah,
Yeah,
just as you're gonna say, sometimes it's two thumbs down, and it's not nice.
yeah, no, especially when it's just like a back to back thumbs down. You're really just like,
What are we
to be,
doing with our lives?
yeah, it's like, did She-Hulk and Secret Invasion come out one after the other? To be fair, I didn't even watch Secret Invasion
I
because I
watched
just
Secret Invasion. I didn't watch She-Hulk.
okay. Because with She-Hulk, I didn't watch all of it. I just watched the Daredevil episode, and I was like, all the Daredevil stuff is great. Everything else that She-Hulk related, I did not care for. I was like, this show is, yeah, it's not for me.
No, I knew She-Hulk was gonna be bad from the trailer, and then I saw snippets, obviously as you do on social media,
Yeah,
and I was just like, this is one of the worst programs I've ever seen.
fair.
And that's just from like even a few shots out of context. And things look reasonably good out of context. It's hard to make something look bad from 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's the worst 30 seconds of a film.
Yeah.
Even when you like when you watch the bloopers from like Born Identity and you can like see Matt Damon run
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
screen behind a van. Or in Gladiator when the chariot flips up, the first Gladiator, not the crap one.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about
We don't
Gladiator 2.
reference Gladiator 2.
Strength and honor.
To be fair, all references from Gladiator 2 are from Gladiator
Yeah,
1.
exactly.
So that's why we don't reference Gladiator 2. But yeah, like when the chariot flips over in the first film, you see like the gas cylinder that actually caused
The chariot to
the
flip.
chariot to
Yeah.
flip over. So from my point of view, like sometimes you see the cracks, but when it's such a massive sculpture, you appreciate the sculpture, not the crack.
Yeah.
She-Hulk it was horrid. It was actually
From what
horrid.
from what you could tell, and from
Yeah.
what I could tell too, like I'd seen like clips on social media as well, and I was like, yeah, I'm okay. This is not for me.
Fury in Secret Invasion is good.
Okay.
Like I want to give props to the performances inside of Secret Invasion.
Mhm.
I believe, I could be so wrong, the lady from Game of Thrones is in it.
Emilia Clarke. Yes,
She's
she's
really
in it.
good in it.
Mm.
She's really good in it. And Nick Fury's really good in it. That's the only reason why I got all the way through the show, was
Fair.
because I'm watching these performances and I'm like, this is good performances.
Mhm.
I never got into the story. And at no point in time was I watching the story and going, this is entertaining. It, like, the whole invasion, the whole format that they've tried to tell this story in, like as a TV show,
Yeah.
everything just felt like you've just got everything wrong. Like, this could be one film
Mhm.
and you could have called it Nick Fury,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? It could
But
have been a Nick
they
Fury
just
film.
stretched it all the way out.
By the way, Captain Marvel 1 is basically Nick Fury 1.
No, it's not. I mean, it is,
I
but
did
it
not like
isn't.
the film, but Nick Fury is basically the only good thing in the entire film.
Sure,
And he's
apart from the fact that they ruined him with that stupid cat crash. But we
yeah,
move.
we move.
We
right?
move.
This is what we mean. Everything is always caveated in the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
That's what-
bar the beautiful films that we've
Yeah.
actually received, like Logan, S tier.
But that's
my
not MCU
personal-
though. That's X-Men.
50-50,
It doesn't
right?
count.
No, it's fine, doesn't count. But Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
We differ on our opinions of this, but Thor 3,
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
we do. I hate
we differ.
Ragnarok. I cannot stand it. But we don't need to get into that now.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
The whole trilogy. I watched it from beginning to end, one sitting, 1, 2, and 3. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? But then there's the bad films.
Yeah. But circling this all back to Thunderbolts, Thunderbolts was pretty surprising.
No, I think it was great, but the trailer didn't make me feel surprised that it was great.
It was more so the fact of like I was just surprised of how much I enjoyed it, because I kind of stayed out of the marketing for this one, because
Okay,
like
fair.
I didn't watch many trailers, and I was just like, okay, yeah, it's a bunch of like the C and D listers from previous movies. Well, technically Bucky's a B lister, but you know what I mean. It's like about Yelena and Red Guardian and Ghost, and I'm just like, okay, sure, yeah, but we'll see what this movie's about. And then I saw the movie, and I was like, wow, Marvel actually made a movie. Like, it was actually like a really solid movie.
That's the scary thing. It wasn't just a solid movie. It was like, it ticked so many boxes.
Yeah.
It set up the next phase. It was a brilliant film. It made you like characters that were previously hated,
Mm-hmm.
right? Florence Pugh's Black Widow.
I love Florence Pugh.
Yes, I personally don't hate her,
Yeah.
but I watched Oppenheimer and she just stuck.
Yeah, of course that's the movie you'd cite as sticking.
Which is a testament to how good of an actress she is, because she managed to annoy me so much that it's extended into other films. But she's I wouldn't say really good, but you can appreciate her in Dune 2.
I think her in Dune, she's like a small role. She's important in the larger story, and I'm not gonna go into a whole Dune thing.
Let's just leave that where it is.
We'll leave it where it is, because for everyone that knows me, I will gush about Dune 24/7 forever and ever. Amen.
I hate you. I actually hate you, but fine.
But no, yeah, I get that. Like, whenever Florence Pugh shows up in a film, it's a win. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be.
I think she's a great actor.
Yeah.
I will give props to do. I think she's a great actor. 9 out of 10 times, female leads look forced in action films because it doesn't feel believable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's in very rare instances that they get like the combat sequencing done so well that it feels believable. We watched the trailer for John Wick.
Yeah, for Ballerina.
She looks believable,
exactly.
Right? But I think that's because the film she shot with Chris Evans, she had a lot of practice.
Yeah. Do you know what's a film that just came to mind of them doing the female action hero so poorly? Terminator, not Genesis, the other one, Dark Fate, where they brought back Sarah Connor, and like Linda Hamilton's like an old lady, we'll say.
Yeah. Because in the second one, she's brilliant.
Yeah, but like I'm talking to like 50, 60-year-old Linda Hamilton,
Geriatric combat,
and
yeah.
she's like taking out guys left, right, and center. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Like what? But anyways, going back to Thunderbolts. General thoughts. How do we feel about the film?
You know what? Sorry, but I feel like general thoughts has to be addressed at the end because we're gonna spoil parts of the film.
Oh yeah, for everyone that's listening, full on spoilers.
Yeah.
Like,
We should have done that at the beginning.
but then again, too, this movie's been out for a while, so
You know what? Forget you.
yes.
All right. Let's go overarching and let's just say, what's your rating of the film?
So
Let's start from there.
for everyone that has seen my content, I don't like doing numerical scores because I just find that they fluctuate and change, and I feel like the best way for me to describe a movie is just use words. But there are sometimes too where I arbitrarily go like, yeah, this is so for example, Thunderbolts, I'll be like, yeah, this was a solid 4 out of 5 stars, a good like 8 out of 10. Um, maybe like 3.75, just because I'll talk about it later on. It's the thing with the ending.
We'll go over it.
We'll go over it though. But for the most part, it was really enjoyable, really solid. The thing that I'll just say, and again, it just really impressed me with the movie is they actually made a movie. Like they
full on movie.
They went out and they filmed all the action stuff. You saw truck flips, you saw limousine flips, and I'm like,
people
this is
falling out of the sky.
Yeah, this is amazing. Like literally, I was doing a movie commentary on The Dark Knight, which will come out at some point. But it was like when I was like doing my commentary on The Dark Knight, I got to the big car chase with Batman and the Joker, and then the truck flip happens, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. They actually like flipped this massive truck, and it looks so good
In The Dark Knight.
in The Dark
They
Knight.
did that with a cylinder inside the actual trailer.
And then like in Thunderbolts, they're doing similar things with like trucks and limousines and stuff. And I'm like, hey, we're back. We're movie making. Marvel isn't just like, relying on visual effects like they always do. They're actually like doing stuff for real. Like that they made a real movie.
Now, to address the things that we love so much about the film, I also want to say no agendas.
Say your opinion as
well.
well.
Okay. I thought it was slightly better than what Hamza thought it was. I think it was a 9 to a 10 out of 10 because I think across the spectrum of what they had to accomplish and what they managed to do throughout the film, like mind you, me and Hamza have not been up to date with all of the Marvel content that's been coming out. I believe you watched WandaVision and
Yes.
Falcon and
Winter Soldier I saw, Loki season 1 I saw, but I didn't bother with season 2 because I didn't like season 1 that much.
Yeah, but we haven't seen all the other stuff like have you seen Black Widow?
I have seen Black Widow.
Okay, so you have seen
but it's very forget. No, I tend to keep up with most of it, but there are certain aspects where I'm just like, yeah, this I have no interest in Ant-Man 3.
Yeah.
I've seen all the memes on Twitter. I've seen all like everyone making fun of MODOK. I've seen MODOK's stupid little butt. And I was just like, okay, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? I'm okay, Marvel. Thanks. I will like save my time.
But again, with all of these things caveated, I haven't seen everything, and because of that, like going into this film, without having seen these characters prior, I think they did an excellent job of like reintroducing them.
Yeah, no, definitely. It had been a while since I'd seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the way they reintroduced US Agent, great.
And then on top of that, the way they introduced Bob,
Sentry,
right, was really good. And I think as a whole, the storyline, the performances, what the film accomplished, the special effects and the filmography, and then on top of that, I'd say like audience feel is a massive thing because I don't think Endgame's actually a good film, but the audience feel around the film is so good that it doesn't carry the film, but pardon me, it makes it a lot better than what we perceive it to be,
I do hear what you're saying about
right?
Endgame. For me, with Endgame at the time, loved it. Again, audience feel
Yeah,
such an amazing, emotional, like fan-filled experience. That cinema experience was crazy.
yeah.
But like rewatching that movie and stuff, it's enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. I like watching
It's
it.
a good film.
Yeah, but it's like that middle bit is too long for its own good. It's so self-indulgent, which is like Marvel's biggest problem. Is that like they love going, hey, look at us referencing this thing we like said 5 years ago. Hey, look at this thing that's a meme and we're referencing it and you all love it.
Some of
Yeah.
those were good. Some of those points of continuity are frustrating. But
Say that bit again, just because that was a
sorry,
thing.
I'm gonna
Amateur,
teething
amateur.
moments. Whilst some things are like explicitly valuable to have,
Hmm.
I think on a large basis, like the continuity around Tony Stark's left arm being injured from the first Iron Man film,
Yeah,
that's a brilliant touch. It's also the hand that gets destroyed
with the snap.
with
Yeah.
the snap. Looking at like in the first Captain America movie, in the first Avengers film, Captain America says to Tony, "You're not the man to put your life on the line," right? Like all of these details that get brought back are brilliant. If I'm being honest, I didn't like the agendas behind the film so much so as like they were trying to make it something it didn't need to be, which was like this final war where now like we've saved Earth for the last time. They really pushed that kind of, you know, this is the final thing. You know what I
So
mean?
much so to the point where I really think Marvel should have stopped after Endgame. I know, like, they had Spider-Man stuff and they needed to wrap that up, but like for me, that franchise, they wrapped it up. Like, because of phase 4 and 5 and the current stuff that they're making now and how poorly organized everything has been, it really has made me as a comic book fan, as an audience, just go, okay, what's the point now? Like you haven't like properly established a new Avengers team. Put a pin in that because we'll talk about that
That
when
in
it
a
comes to
second, yeah.
Thunderbolts. But it's like at the time of Phase 4, you hadn't properly established a new Avengers team. It took them too damn long to get Anthony Mackie a Captain America film. Instead, they made him a TV show, which is just counterproductive because he kind of just goes through a whole arc of, oh, should I be Captain America? Okay, I'm gonna be Captain America. And then you watch the new Captain America film, and it's the same story arc pretty much, where it's just like, I don't know if I should be Captain America.
I had the same frustration with Spider-Man giving up the glasses. I was like, why
Oh,
are
we
you
can.
doubting yourself when you've been given this the person who's the man for the job is retiring and now he's chosen you to be the man for the job. And everything that you learn from Steve Rogers' character arc, right? Especially the way why he was chosen because you're a good man and all of these kind of things, they were all forgotten when
Mm-hmm.
choosing the new Captain America, which for me I didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
right?
For me, when it came to Falcon and Winter Soldier, obviously we'll come back to the Thunderbolts in a second. The thing that they did in that show was that they just went, yeah, he earned being Captain America. He is Captain America. And then you go into the new Captain America film, and it's just like, yeah, he's Captain America, but he's still doubting himself. I'm like, why? Why are we rehashing this? Like, this just feels like season 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier minus the Winter Soldier.
Fair.
And it's just like, I was quite bored with Marvel, and then we get to Thunderbolts, and like don't get me wrong, I'm still not like in love with the Marvel franchise. I'm not like yeah they're back here we are they're back on top they're in Hollywood again. I'm more just like yeah they made a good film. They made a film where I went to the cinema and I went yeah I had a good time. I'm glad I saw this.
All of those, and then also the famous words that you said as soon as you walked out, which was "Don't mess it up."
Yeah,
It's kind of like, and it would be really, really dumb for them to mess it up at this
I
point. Like,
think
well, the way they've set it
I
up,
think they'll be on a winning streak because Fantastic Four looks
good.
really good.
Okay, wait. Now, before we go to films that are about to come out,
Yeah.
let's actually address Thunderbolts.
Yes.
Let me go from the start and express why initially as the film started, I was pretty much like, oh, I hate this.
Yeah.
And then within like 15 minutes, I was like, okay, no, I kind of like this.
Yeah,
So the opening shot is obviously Florence Pugh just like on top of the building, right?
yeah,
And immediately I was just like, oh, not this again, because it's always the same kind of. We're gonna throw them into an action sequence. They're gonna be like the combat's good, and then they're gonna enjoy the film.
yeah.
They did that in Black Panther.
Hmm.
They do that in every Marvel film,
Literally the
right?
formula.
That's the recipe, right? Oh,
Yeah.
you like this person because of what they've done in the first 5 minutes of the film, and now that's going to carry them for the next hour and a half.
Hmm.
I hated that. But in this film, the internal monologue of I'm actually kind of bored of this.
Yeah.
It
Her
really resonated with me.
her full on depression arc, I was like, oh,
Oh, the whole
okay.
film,
This is
the whole
great.
film, the whole film's depression arc. I love it. Like not because I love being depressed, but because the way they addressed these social issues
It felt
was
real. It was
yeah,
real.
and it was classy.
Like there's a scene later on where she's speaking to Red Guardian, who is her like father figure and stuff, and she's just like, Daddy, I'm so alone. In my best Yelena impression, and I was like, oh,
It was terrible, but yeah.
shut up.
I'm kidding, but yeah.
But it was a thing to where like it. She was saying those lines, and I was like, don't get me wrong, this is not like the mental health awareness film or anything, but it's like she was saying these lines, and I was like, I believe it. Like I resonate with this a lot. Like I hear what she's saying, and I really empathize, and I feel for this character
Yes, facts.
because it's a
Facts.
mixture of Florence Pugh's performance and also just the writing of the character, and also too it's a thing to where like it did that thing where so you know how with like DC comics and stuff, everyone always goes, "Oh, with DC, it's gods trying to be men," but with Marvel, it's humans trying to be gods. That's kind of what I got with the Yelena "Daddy, I'm so alone" like depression speech, which was just yeah, she's doing all this cool like action, blockbuster, Black Widow stuff, and then she's just like,
I'm
no,
still a human.
I'm a human being at the end of the day. I feel depressed. I feel like I'm wasting my life away. I feel like I need a new direction in life. And I was like, yeah, this this
I
is
really
this
liked
is
her.
really
I
strong
really
writing.
liked her. I think she was so good throughout the film, and she's really like the glue that kind of holds together the narrative of what's happening.
Yeah, agree.
Because she's like going through this massive character development behind the scenes, which you get to see filtered through her behaviors. And I really appreciated that because when they're in the incinerator, had she not had that initial discussion of I want to be a hero now, she probably would have just shot Bob.
Yeah,
And then they would have found out that Bob is Sentry then, and then there wouldn't have been a narrative.
yeah,
But the whole point behind her kindness, it was so contagious, so to speak, that
yes,
the other characters in the room, which are these borderline, well, one of them's narcissistic,
yeah, yeah.
right? But like these very selfish individuals start to have a polar shift
Mhm.
throughout their mindset. Now, address it as a whole. Are the characters in the film good or not? I think that's for someone who's seen all of the content
Mhm.
that has been produced for them, which I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I always liked Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. I
Okay.
haven't seen Yelena before this. I
Yeah.
haven't seen Agent USA.
A U.S. agent. You
US
didn't watch
Agent.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
No, I have a life.
Okay, fair.
No, I'm kidding.
Hey,
Um,
listen, it came out during COVID. Okay.
yeah, but it's not just that. It's the fact that Steve Rogers is my Captain America,
Yeah.
and I don't need you to reboot this guy in the same timeline. But I'll get to that.
Yeah.
I will address that immediately after this. In fact, I feel like the film was great because the action felt not too much. It wasn't just CGI, blasters and flight and all this crap.
Yeah.
And that made the scenes which are super feel really super,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then on top of that, it wasn't just this like agenda film where like this is a take on mental health. Like when you watch Joker,
Yeah.
it's not just about the mental health side.
Mm-hmm.
You are also appreciating the performances and what's going on in this film. Otherwise, why not just sit down and have like a TED talk on mental health and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
should be addressed? Um, so all of these characters that were introduced were done really eloquently, really balanced comedic and seriousness. Like that, we love that scene. In fact, Hamza immediately looked over to my right and said, "That's your dad."
Yeah.
Which was Red Guardian kind of like honking his horn, going, "Yelena, where are you?"
Yeah, Red Guardian is like the funniest part of the film for me.
He's brilliant.
David Harbour, you could tell he was having so much fun playing this character.
Yeah.
He was just full on like, Yelena, we
And-
are team.
And as a massive, massive, massive Stranger Things fan, I felt like it was an alternate reality where Chief Hopper was like a Russian.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. I loved it. Also,
he was the most entertaining for the film for me. But one, I want to address Ghost. Ghost for me, I just whatever. I didn't. For me, just yeah, it was Ghost. Performance was fine and everything. Nothing wrong with that. I just felt like the character, like there's some like one or two like interesting character moments where you think she's gonna leave them in the vault to die, but then she doesn't. She changes her mind, and then it's just like no, it's fine. US Agent, I liked everything they did with him. Because he's just an asshole. He's an asshole.
he's so good at it.
That's trying to do the right thing, but he is just an asshole.
But again, they made you feel bad for him.
They did make you feel bad, though.
Which is really good.
The like vision in the void with him and his family, and him just being a dick to his family. I was like, yeah,
And
that's
the
pretty really
visible
well done.
regret on his face.
Yes.
The thing is, they accomplished a lot.
Yes.
You can't understate how much they managed to get done in what was reasonably short film.
Yeah.
For what it was supposed to do.
For what it's supposed to do.
Right? Like you think, oh, Avengers reboot, you're thinking that these brothers need 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right? But they didn't.
No, they didn't. The thing that stood out to me though was like when Bucky shows up. Like Bucky's like first like major appearance where he's on the motorcycle and he saves the Thunderbolts and he's like shooting the stuff and like there's explosions. I'm like, okay, this mixed in with his like new theme. This is really cool. I really like this.
And he felt like an actual hero at that point.
Yeah, he did.
Everyone else felt not subpar, but you could tell that heroing wasn't their day job.
No, yeah.
They were, you guys are spies and assassins. This is like full frontal assault.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're doing.
The real hero has just arrived on the scene.
And he's on like a motorbike. He's got the shades.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
really cool. And then also like the level of comedy behind it as well, because obviously like David Harbour's like, this is as fast as this can go. Like Red Guardian is screaming and everyone's kind of like, what is actually going on?
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I think the way that was told, I think it gave Bucky the moment that he hadn't had on the big screen yet.
In a while. In a good while.
Yeah, like since Winter Soldier. Since the Winter Soldier.
No, he had
films.
moments in Civil War. I feel
No,
yeah.
he Rocket and him had a moment. That's not the same thing.
Fair.
Do you get what I mean? Like, bar that, Bucky's just been like that guy with the serum who's just in the back. He was what you're complaining Ghost is in this film. Which is why I was going to draw a parallel and kind of say that, like, you have that quiet but trustworthy companion in the film.
Yeah.
That's what Ghost was. That's why I feel like, yeah, there's going to be moments where you're more important. Kind of like in The Boys when you see Black Noir. I just realized that it's black twice.
Yeah.
So we just call him Noir Squared.
Yeah, Noir Squared.
But like when he's in the first season, there's not really much anything about him. But then season 2 and season 3, you start to appreciate this character more.
Yeah.
I feel like someone had to be neglected, and Ghost, not neglected per se, but someone had to be saved for the next films.
Yeah.
And what she does in the film is cool. Do you get what I mean?
Because that's the thing with this film is that like basically everyone in the Thunderbolts survives because this movie is basically Marvel's Suicide Squad. They all survive except for Taskmaster, who they kill off unceremoniously, and then after that it's just like, yeah, the rest of the team, they're the Thunderbolts, because they're all gonna be in Avengers Doomsday, which comes out next year.
Which I have really high hopes for.
I hope so too. I hope it's gonna be good. I just need to wait and see for that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find out, innit?
Because what else? So Sentry we'll talk about Sentry because obviously this movie introduces Sentry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they play with like his split
Is it
personality.
fair to say it's his film? Is it fair
Yeah,
to say? I
yeah.
think it's very fair to say it's his film.
To a point, yeah, I would agree. One thing that I thought was really cool, and I don't know if it's his stylistic choice or not, but it's like his CGI when he's like in the Sentry costume and he's like fighting the Thunderbolts is a bit uncanny valley, but at the same time too, I think it works. And the only reason why I say it's uncanny valley is because most of the action they did for real, but like when we see the Thunderbolts fight Sentry, it's very like, oh, okay, he's moving very unrealistically. Oh, this is like beyond like human recognition. But I think that works. Like I wouldn't call that like awful visual effects. I'd more just call it like yeah, you could say like the visual effects aren't amazing or anything, but at the same time too, I think the film gets away with it purely because you're like, okay, yeah, he's being superhuman, and there's like a contrast between his superhumanness and the grounded action we've had throughout most of the film.
I agree, but what frustrates me is because this guy knows he's a god, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if he just stood there and they kept hitting him, it would have caused the same effect as him doing what he was doing. I think it was a power showcase, right? He flicks the bullets back with more power than they were shot at him.
Yeah.
He has telekinesis, which is where he can like throw people around using the force,
Mm-hmm.
and then he can also like materialize and unmaterialize things. Like the way they were showing it was literally like, oh, most of you fans are probably not old enough to know who Sentry actually is, and this is kind of like an introduction to who he is and what he can do.
Yeah.
That's the only, I think, drawback of that fight sequence, because I feel like he would have accomplished it by being slightly more ruthless. Also, caveat, he's not trying to kill them as well.
No.
So there's like, he is being kind of not defensive so much as he is kind of just uh like enforcing peace in the
Yeah.
situation.
In a sense, like because the thing too with the plot is that basically Julie Louis-Dreyfus, who plays Valentina, who apparently in the comics is Madame Hydra. Don't know anything about that.
Du Fontaine.
Yeah, Du Fontaine. Um, like she basically assembles the Thunderbolts to kill each other, and then they're just like, no, she set us against each other. We're gonna turn on her. But oh no, Sentry's been loose or something, and she's trying to get Sentry. And then it all kind of like builds to this big final battle where like Valentina's tried to control Sentry, but Sentry's just gone rogue. And then they fight Sentry, they cure Bob with the power of friendship, and then it basically ends. And this is like not necessarily my issue with the film, but the thing where I felt like the ending's a tiny bit rushed. Like I wish they sat with it a little bit longer, to where Valentina brings out the Thunderbolts, like disguises the whole situation with Sentry as like a big ceremony to introduce the Thunderbolts as the new Avengers. And I'm like, okay, cool. Tiny bit rushed in my opinion. Just from like the just purely from Valentina like pulling the strings and trying to like do this big whole kerfuffle because I don't really know what her angle is. Apart from the fact that I'm assuming that down the line she will become a supervillain.
The sentence that Yelena says, where it's like, "We own you now."
Yeah,
I feel like that had like a lot of credit scene kind of power,
yeah,
where it's like, film's finished.
that was cool. I liked that. My
But
just thing is just it felt like a tiny bit like we should have sat with this a
no,
little
I
bit longer.
agree, especially because of the fact that like she just comes past this thing. 'Cause remember, New York was blacked out for a hot minute, right?
Yeah,
And you're trying to tell me that all of these presenters, they've just come back from this void and now they're just like ready to film.
yeah,
All right, like when you make a film, it takes us like 45 minutes to get ready.
yeah, yeah. Literally.
So like it didn't feel very. That was a major, I think, like kind of moment. But
Mhm.
am I going to be highly critical of it? Yes, because they should have given the film 5 minutes more screen time. Obviously, it would have cost a lot more, but there should have been like a not a jail scene or not anything like that, but something that kind of showed more of a tug of war between the Thunderbolts and Valentina. But essentially, what I find brilliant about the ending was it didn't feel anticlimactic, but at the same time, it didn't feel forced, rushed, or elongated. I feel like, and by ending, I should caveat this, I don't mean the way the film ends. I'm talking about the resolution to all of the kind of chaos that was ensuing, especially within Bob's mind.
Oh yeah, that I don't have an issue with. My thing is literally just like, okay, they finished the final battle. Yeah, you're the new Avengers, and I was
Okay,
like,
bye.
yeah, and I was just like, okay, let's sit with this a little bit, and we kind of do with the second post credit scene. But I wish that minus the big like cameo introduction of the Fantastic Four, I kind of wish that like that end credit scene was the film's ending.
That very much should have been. If I was actually gonna kind of glance by that, there was really, really no need to have the serial scene as the first post credit scene.
Yeah, no, that should have been a last post credit scene
The
type of
very
thing.
end kind of thing, right? Agreed. And he should have been in the full bloody
Yeah, yeah,
jumpsuit with
yeah,
the Z and everything, right? It felt like they filmed that before they realized, oh, we have something here that we could do,
yeah.
right? And again, let's go one step further, right? The way they kind of packaged the ending was that the whole post credit scene of like the newspapers expressing how they felt about it,
That was fun.
that was cool, but it also felt like this is something that should be in the film.
Yeah.
Like it
Okay.
doesn't. You're Marvel or what? So you're Disney. You have billions to kind of put a little bit extra oomph or effort in, right? Don't cost cut on me here.
Mm.
But at the same time, I feel like you enjoy the whole movie so much that in the cinema, when we got to that point, we were kind of like, "Oh, that's nifty."
Yeah.
Like you don't until you actually sit down and ponder on it, you won't really get like, you know, it takes a little bit of rumination to kind of get these kind of negatives out the film, which is why
Yeah.
it doesn't affect my rating so much.
I hear that. Okay. Speaking of negatives, this is like my biggest nitpick with the entire film because it doesn't really matter. But when New York is being voided by Century,
I know this.
right? Where is Spider Man?
First thing you
Where
said.
is Daredevil? Where are like the New York based superheroes? And I say this as a nitpick because, like, yeah, I'm not expecting Daredevil to jump out in like broad daylight and help with the void stuff. Daredevil is fine. Spider Man, it's kind of like, okay, he should be at least like making his way there. Maybe he is, but knowing that when they do Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, they're not going to address this, or if they do, it'll be like a background thing. But like, you know, it would have been cool to maybe have seen Spider-Man like swing by and try and help or something.
I get you, but my frustration with it is that like this is essentially Avengers like 4 or some shit, right? How comes there's no Falcon, there's no
That too, yeah.
like you've spent all of this money making terrible films and TV shows, but none of these characters are available. Like, okay, cool, fine. Like, where's Doctor Strange? I feel
Yeah, because
like
these are all like the New
no,
York
but
based
he
superheroes.
has the biggest reason to be there, right?
Yeah.
Because New York is blacking out in some mystical, magical kind of way. We know it's not a mystical, magical, but it's very sorcerer-esque, right? You're trying to tell me that this universe is Guardian? What's his title? Sorcerer
Supreme. Well,
Supreme.
he's technically not. That's Wong. Did you watch Doctor Strange too?
I did. I thought it was a wretched film.
Okay, I
Um,
actually like Doctor
no,
Strange too.
I hate how they made Scarlet Witch this character, even though in the actual films prior to that, she's pretty useless. Like she can't do anything. And then they've
Well, I
made
mean,
her
she almost killed Thanos.
so key word here is was what? Sorry,
Almost,
almost, right? Yeah.
but it was
And on
very,
top of
it
that,
was very close.
No, because she got smoked. Like when does she kill? When does she kill? Almost kill Thanos, right? Is it
Endgame.
Endgame when she's like crushing him,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What does he do?
Oh, he cheats. He's like, bring in all the missiles, send in all the reinforcements, or whatever.
That's not the only thing he does. He
Yeah,
also slaps her really hard and
that's
sends her
in
across the entire field.
that's in Infinity War, no?
No, that's the Infinity Wars when he peels the sticker off the orange that is Vision,
Yeah.
right? That then he backhands her. That's a different instance. I'm talking about when she's actually like crushing him. I'm pretty sure he uses his blade and he like thwicks her away.
I won't lie, it's been a while since I've seen Endgame, so I can 100% verify that.
Either way, look, she's powerful, right?
Uh huh.
Thor almost kills Thanos. Captain Marvel has her whole little thing. Well, she was useless in that film, by the way. She almost has her moment against Thanos and everything. Because again, if she's that powerful, why can't she click? But they built the whole one thing with Doctor Strange, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that, right? My Again, let's just stick
Going
to the
back to
story here.
Thunderbolts, yeah.
Yeah, my pet peeve with the MCU is that the characters aren't brought in, and whilst you have really good films, you also have really bad ones. Like Doctor Strange 1, I think is brilliant. Doctor Strange 2, I don't really appreciate that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, bringing it back to what I thought they should have done with the MCU is they've explored multiple timelines so extensively in this MCU that what they could have done was gone to another timeline, rebooted the franchise, and had like the first Avengers film be like a, a multi-universal crisis where they bring back previous phased Avengers. That would have been genius. Because what you could have done is you could have had the timelines running side by side, but the point at which the new timeline connects with the old timeline could have been a time at a point where Tony Stark is still alive. And because it's canon that it's happened at this point in time, it's gone into their universe at this point in time, right? It won't change their timeline. One,
Mm-hmm.
when you rewatch the previous films, it won't feel out of place because it hasn't happened yet. That's the whole point. Does that make sense? So it's a time travel thing, but like, yeah, because they've come into this universe at a different point, it wouldn't be available for you to see in the first run through of it. The whole Marty McFly thing.
Hold on, I'm a bit lost. But how does this relate to Thunderbolts?
My point here being, Thunderbolts was a good reboot for where they are in the timeline.
Okay, yeah.
But Thunderbolts very easily could have been a part of a new franchise, been its own thing, and you also had the actual Avengers alongside of it. That for me was something that I feel like they what could have been kind of situation, which for me was a drawback. If you had the Avengers in a new timeline reboot, and then you also had the Thunderbolts, I think that would have been a great setup for the next phase with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Okay.
Problem here is the next Avengers film won't have an Iron Man. Well, I
Yeah,
swear
but
they.
then
I swear
that.
there's the lady that makes Tony Stark esque robot suits now
Oh,
as well.
Ironheart.
Do you get what I mean? Like, I don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm. You're a
I
new.
don't care who you
You're a
are.
new character that no one's cared about, but Disney's
Right.
putting into the movies because diversity.
I didn't think Miss Marvel was bad,
No.
but they did a great job of kind of like bringing in all of the Miss Marvels into a film.
Mm-hmm.
For once, like Thanos loves Marvel was so hell bent on Thanos collecting these Infinity Stones. Why don't you put all of the stones together,
Yeah.
right, and have the X-Men, have the Thunderbolts, have the Fantastic Four, and also have the Avengers at the same time? Because that would have been brilliant. I want to see. I want if for as a fan, right? This is why, whilst the Flash movie is absolutely terrible,
Yeah.
as a fan,
They made a Flash movie.
yeah, there's things in the film that you're watching and you're kind of going, this is really cool. Like I loved seeing Michael Keaton as Batman on screen again.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
That's cool.
I have no attachment to Michael Keaton
I
as
love him as
Batman.
Batman because that's that for me. That's the when I was 5, 6 years old. That's when someone said let's put on Batman. That's the first memories I have of
Mm.
watching Batman as a movie on screen.
Yeah.
I want to see. You've read the new Avengers comic books, right? Where Norman Osborn is now the new head of the Avengers, and you've got Wolverine, Spider Man sitting next to each other.
The whole Dark Avengers thing, and
Yeah,
he is the Iron Patriot. And yeah.
I want to see Wolverine next to Spider Man. I want to see Cyclops and Avengers go out onto missions together. I
Well,
want to see these overlaps.
we'll see that. I think we will see the overlaps because I mean, again, ending with Thunderbolts, they've teased the Fantastic Four now, and like the future of the MCU is going to be interesting for me, and I think this is kind of something we should talk about before we wrap up. Is the idea of the MCU's future now again is so they're really building up to Doomsday and Secret Wars, which is basically going to be the big multiverse cameo crossover. We're going to get the old X-Men. We're going to get James Marsden, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen. We're probably going to get Hugh Jackman back for this film because how can you not? We'll probably see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. We will like merge all the old Marvel franchises into the MCU to tell this story of Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, you know, trying to create the world in his own image, and then the Avengers fight him and they beat him, and then they reset the universe. And then the actors that want to stay will stay and do the stuff that they need to do. And then the old actors can finally retire and live in peace. Like, we don't have to bring back Professor X and kill him again.
I hated that Doctor Strange film so much. I thought it was so bad.
I didn't mind it.
I thought it was so bad.
I thought the directing was really good. It's like Sam Raimi's direction was solid.
It was a okay. This is let me caveat. I thought the story wasn't one that needed to be told.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I have issues with that story because the MCU has like no rules for the multiverse. Like originally in Loki, it's the whole like multiple universes thing, but then in Doctor Strange, like your dreams in our multiverses or something, and I'm like, what is
And
going on
then
here?
in Deadpool versus Wolverine,
Yeah,
there's the prime timeline.
yeah, with the whole like
where
sacred timeline thing. Yeah,
you've
yeah,
lost your main character. Now this timeline's gonna end. It's like, what do you mean?
yeah.
That's not how multiversal theory works in any iteration of multiversal theory.
Literally.
So, like, again, there's so many things that make you kind of just sit there and go, like, oh, shut up. Like, I've had enough of you now.
Yeah,
And
like
and sorry, I'm
you know,
really sorry.
finish your point.
Just to kind of like put all of what I've been saying into like one final point. You know, when I watched Star Wars,
Yeah,
and the new trilogy came out, and I said, I'm not saying the first film is bad. I'm just saying that this is the opportunity cost of what could have been. We could have had, you know, Luke Skywalker grab the lightsaber rather than Finn.
yeah,
And you could have had this great battle to set off the new trilogy. Kind of like how Obi-Wan fought Darth Vader in
yeah,
the
yeah.
original trilogy, right? You didn't do that.
Star Wars is a whole other.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm not opening that kind of way. I'm just saying that like that point of like, whilst what you did here was cool, this is what it could have
No,
been.
yeah,
Right?
I completely hear everything you're saying because the thing that I have with Force Awakens is that at the time I loved it, and if you take it by itself, it's a really enjoyable movie.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable film. It's not a great film. It's an enjoyable film.
After 8 and 9, it sucks.
Everything,
like-
the entire trilogy. You know when you watch the Dark Knight trilogy, the third film is like this encapsulating point that makes you appreciate all three films more.
Right.
Star Wars did that, but in the opposite
In
direction.
the opposite way, like it just
So,
made
like,
you go, everything sucks. Like,
Everything
just-
sucks. The final trilogy is so bad that people started questioning the original too.
Yeah.
That's how bad.
Oh, don't worry, I still do. I've done it the whole time.
I disagree. I've always thought the original trilogy, for what it is and the time it came out in, is great. The second trilogy was like, it could have been better, but as a whole of 6 films, two are legendary, 2 are good, 2 are they don't need to be here.
Yeah.
They're not really enjoyable. They're not really good. But do you get what I mean? Like, but across 6 films, it's enough for you to appreciate it. Like, granted, I think the best franchise of like 6, 7+ films is still Harry Potter.
Yes.
Because every film is a 7 out of 10. Every film is like, you walk out and you're like, good.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
At minimum, they're 7 out of 10.
Yeah, and then obviously one of them's a 10 out of 10, two of
Mm.
them are like 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
But like, you never drop below a 7.
Yeah.
This is my beef with Marvel, right? Now, this is where we started off the whole discussion with, and this is where I think is the idyllic ending, right?
Yeah.
Take a deep breath, lads. Don't F this up.
Yeah, I hear that.
Because you've done really well in this film, and now what the target should be isn't longevity, it isn't audience feel, it is films.
Yeah.
Now give us good films. You've shown that you can do it. You've proven it with this film that you can make a good film, right? That attacks social issues without an agenda, right? There's that wonderful scene where she goes, "Oh, I love giving women a promotion." That's great, right? You've given the agenda, right? Not agenda, but you've
The
said something.
message.
The message. Thank you, right? The message without ever making it something it doesn't need to be.
Yeah,
right? This isn't a poster.
That's literally my whole thing with like a lot of Hollywood writing, to where it's like they want to push messages of like female empowerment or diversity and all that stuff. All completely fine.
Welcome.
Just do it well. That's literally all you need to do.
Don't make the film about this thing. Me and you disagree about this on Barbie, right? But the way it tackles social issues is actually hilarious because it's fighting the case on both sides, which makes it really funny because the girls are like, "Oh my god, see, this is what we live with." Right? And then the guys are like, "But this is what we live with."
Yeah.
We're like, and you appreciate both sides.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, it could have been a better film, but we're not getting into Barbie, right? I'm talking about this Thunderbolts instance, right? They addressed mental health. They did a great job. They addressed female empowerment. Do you know what they also gave us? A great female lead.
Yeah, they did.
Right? Why do we hate Carol Danvers? Because you were really sucky in your performance. You were really sucky marketing the film.
She was so like bland and boring. Don't get me wrong, I like Brie Larson as an
a character.
As an actor, I think Brie Larson is a good actor.
Sorry, Brie Larson's the actual actor.
Yeah. No Carol Danvers. But I feel like when it came to Captain Marvel, their whole big selling point was she's the most powerful character we have. And then you're kind of like, okay, and then you watch the movie and the writing is terrible because she's a plank of wood.
The most powerful character so far, because immediately after that we've now got Sentry and they made Scarlet Witch the most powerful character we have. Why? What? We don't care how powerful you are. Do something with it.
For me, it's just write good characters.
Yeah, but do something with it. Do something with it.
for me, with Captain Marvel, right? If Captain Marvel's whole personality was that she's a bitch, then make that her character arc of people acknowledge that she's a bitch. But the movies don't do that. And it's just like, okay, what are we trying to say here then?
Great. Wonderful. What a film.
Yeah.
She's carried by a really young version of Samuel L. Jackson doing what he's done as a side character in every other film as a main character in this one. What an accomplishment. You guys spent how much on this film?
Yeah.
Right? By extension of that, again, there's so many films that are like audience feel they've just blown it out of proportion, made it feel like it's this legendary thing, right? I have to say it. I don't want them to go down the same rabbit hole again.
No, agreed.
Because what they've done here is set up an incredible starting point. It's not a 9 or 10 out, because now I'm going to revise my rating.
Yeah.
It's an 8.5.
This is why I don't give numerical scores.
No, because you made some really good points, especially with the rushed ending, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think about it until you actually brought it up, and it made me kind of rethink that.
Yeah.
Did I want more before I left? A tiny bit, yes.
Yeah.
Another 5 to 7 minutes, yes. But again, it's my biggest pet peeve with Dune 1. It's just a film ending.
Fair.
And you're just sitting there like, did something happen in the projector
Yeah,
room?
no,
Like,
I have that same
like-
thing. I'm like, you could have like made the editing for the ending of Doom Part 1 so
we
much cleaner.
rewatched it and we all felt the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, why does it just
Doom.
it just ends like
It's just like, Denis, mon ami, I love you so much, but like,
it's like the director died halfway through
Yeah,
editing. And just like, that's it, film over.
like you can drag out that walking shot just a tiny bit more or something.
We've already been here for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Okay, I made this point when we were walking back from the cinema, right?
Right.
Do these films need to be 3 hours now because of the nature of the way film is? Maybe we'll have a whole podcast on it, right?
Yeah.
But like, 2 hours doesn't seem like enough anymore, because 45 minutes is now the understood establishing time frame. The next 45 minutes is like in terms of how large they want these films to be. Like, for example, if Avengers Doomsday is a 2-hour film, how much screen time are these characters getting?
It's going to be 2.5 hours. So
it can't be. It has to be 3 hours.
Oh, something along those lines. It will be a long movie because, and I think this is like a nice segue into like wrapping everything up. I feel like all Marvel has to do now is just make good quality films. Fantastic Four looks like good quality. My only like hesitancy about Fantastic Four is Johnny Storm. But
No.
I need to see. Yeah, there was something about it to where I'm just like, they just made him. I don't know. He's not
Is it
cool.
the look?
It's the look.
Or is it the feel?
It's the look. It's the look in the sense of like, Joseph Quinn is a good actor. I like Joseph Quinn.
He's a really good actor, yeah.
But for me, he doesn't seem like cool. You know, for me, Chris Evans in the original Fantastic Four films was perfect casting, right?
But was he cool though?
He was cool.
I just rewatched it, and he's low-key a cringe fest.
But he's cool. That's the whole point, though. Johnny Storm is like meant to be like the womanizing cool guy, and then I look at Joseph Quinn. I look at Joseph Quinn in the Fantastic Four trailer, and I'm like, listen, I like you, but that ain't Johnny Storm.
Wait, you know when they did the reboot with the Miles Teller, the guy from Whiplash, and they had Michael B. Jordan as
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm. Was he who was Miss Invisible?
Sue was the adopted one because that was Kate Mara.
So it was a white woman.
Yeah. But she was the adopted
that really bugged me a lot, because I thought you could have made them actual brothers and sisters.
That could be a whole
whole
podcast in itself, like race bending, and that's a whole topic for another story.
But I get what you mean in terms of cool, because we've had Chris Evans, Michael B. Jordan, and then the guy from Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
It's a stark difference.
It's not even that. It's just like when you think about the character of Johnny Storm, like the perfect actor to play Johnny Storm right now is Austin Butler. Like, him just showing up like, hey, what's up, guys?
No, they'll just hire Charlemagne because apparently he's a chameleon and he can do everything. But
look, I love Timmy, but like, realistically,
he's not a superhero in any way, shape, or form.
No, people keep saying they want him for Nightwing, and I'm like,
what?
No, what? Just because he has nice hair.
Anorexic Nightwing. Is that where our lines? Okay, is that body shaming?
He said that with love. All right, Timmy.
But like, whilst I like Charlemagne, I think he's a wonderful actor. And by the way, people always hate me for saying this. My favorite film of him is actually Don't Look Up, because he's brilliant in that. He's actually brilliant in that. But I don't see it in King. I don't see it at all.
Oh, he's so good in the King.
He can't swing a sword. Look at him.
He's so good in the King.
He looks like he's the guy who cleans the shit and piss out of the night suit, not the guy in the night suit, right? And then on top of that, like in Dune, I get it, it's a space film, and like they're a little bit super. If you see their movements, they're not really humane per se. But again, it's a space film. He's not a good option for any superhero casting ever. Like
unless he actually bulks up.
No, even then, you don't have the face for it. You don't look super.
Yeah.
You don't look super. So why Johnny Storm? I liked him. Just quickly, it looked like Fantastic Four many years into being Fantastic Four. They're very established. You know, Johnny Storm and the Thing are close. Sue's pregnant.
For me, it's just Johnny's personality. That's kind of it. Like he's just not cool enough. But
He
we'll
doesn't
see.
look cool enough. He doesn't look cool enough because we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows? He could have 4 wives on an Arab thing. Well, what do we know?
We'll see. We'll see. But it's like, yeah, Marvel just needs to keep up quality, basically. Like Doomsday, I'm imagining is Doomsday is the one I'm interested in because I don't know if it's going to be like a super crazy cameo fest. Like it will be because they've announced Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, um, Cyclops, James Marsden. Like they're all coming back and stuff. It's going to be a multiverse like extravaganza. But at the same time too, the Thunderbolts are in that movie, but also Anthony Mackie's in that movie, and apparently like the like rumored stories like it's gonna be the new Avengers clashing with Sam Wilson's new team of Avengers, which could be interesting. Um, but at the end of the day, I feel like this is all building up to Secret Wars, where we're gonna get multiple cameos, and it's gonna be a big like Spider-Man No Way Home S type of film, but like it's Avengers, so imagine Spider-Man No Way Home meets Endgame, and I feel like it's all gonna build up to a point to where, in my eyes, they just need to reboot. They won't reboot. They'll move forwards and keep going. But I really feel like Marvel just needs to stop, take its time, take like 5 years out, and then just
No,
start
it's a
again.
really wise thing to kind of say. I don't care what decision you make. I care that you make your decision the right decision. So if you're not going to reboot and you're going to keep perpetuating the storyline, do a good job. If you're going to reboot, do a good job. There's no point rebooting and then giving us Justice League quality content.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So I'm overall really happy with what they've tried to accomplish as a whole. And I agree with you that, yeah, it's going to be a multiversal fest. But what I'm actually excited about this multiversal fest is like, if you are to get these characters in a healthy spot where we appreciate them, we probably won't look at them as the new Avengers because I'm already kind of sick and tired of hearing the word Avengers as a whole, right? I want it to be something where it's like, this is something new, this is something that you guys can appreciate and enjoy, but it's not something that we have to shoehorn into our previous kind of method, because now I don't want them to bring new characters in these standalone films. Like Ant-Man was cool, right? But we kind of saw with Blue Beetle that it was like, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean?
Blue
So
Beetle.
yeah, you get what I mean. So like, I don't want it to be like, oh, we're making now a Red Guardian film, which is unlikely, but
Yeah, I
you
don't
get
think
what I
they'll do
mean.
that. Yeah.
So I feel like just kind of bring it under one banner, hopefully add Bruce Banner back in, and make it kind of like this nice to appreciate film. Because I don't know what the after Love and Thunder, Chris Hemsworth's future's kind of looming. He's got a daughter now.
Apparently they want to do one more Thor film where they give him a big epic send off, or they're gonna do that in the Avengers films or something. Which yeah, do that because they butchered his character.
Yeah, and then also like revamp certain characteristics within the Avengers. Like it became a universal thing in Endgame. So I'm not looking for like mad grandeur in the side plots and side films which inevitably will be coming out. I just want them to find a way to healthily reboot this. And the thing that I'm most excited for, honestly, have you ever watched Young Avengers?
No.
So Captain America is a guy with super serum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he technically has super sperm,
Right.
and he's 70 something years old. He must have done something with Peggy. You know what I mean? So there
Right.
must be a kid out there with Steve Rogers genetics, which is basically what the Young Avengers was all about. Young
Okay.
Avengers was Black Panther's kid, Thor's daughter, um, the new Steve Rogers. I think it's Steve Rogers Jr. or something like that, right? I could be completely wrong. But like, you know, you've got like these super kids, and it's been a long enough time since things have kind of happened that we can kind of introduce these characters in really healthily and kind of give us like a proper Captain America, give us a new Black Panther, which we could say was like T'Challa's kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the way they should introduce these characters is in a way that like we have excitement, it's a nice reboot, and then you can kind of end this timeline off. Like that's my hope. My hope is that they give us characters that fill out these massive holes in the team. Because let's be honest, if Doctor Doom pulled up, they need the X-Men and the Fantastic Four because these new Avengers would get smoked.
Yeah.
If Galactus pulled up and there's no Iron Man, no Hulk, no Thor, no Captain America, no Black Widow, who's the mightiest heroes?
Yeah, they're cooked. They're cooked.
So they need to bring back a Captain America that you're like, no, this is actually Captain America. Because what's Captain America doing now? He has a shield on his back while he flies.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's basically Captain Falcon, which is annoying because I think Anthony Mackie like deserves to actually like carry on that mantle of being Captain America.
No, not at all. Not even the slightest. I think he's useless, and he has been useless. Do you remember Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
He took out one helicarrier, yeah,
Listen,
and then just went useless.
it was his heart that counts, okay?
No, it was his respect for Steve Rogers. We liked him because Steve liked him. I liked him because Steve liked him. I don't know about you, but like again, I don't think he's a bad actor. I don't hate Falcon as a character. I don't think they've done a bad job with him. I just think that they've taken this in the wrong direction, which is again it's a massive fear for the next line of films. The next line of films is don't take this into the wrong direction. Like,
yeah,
I already feel like this whole Anthony Mackie is Falcon is like he's got copyright laws on Avengers. Are you for real?
yeah.
Is this where we're at? You're trying to tell me that the new Captain America, yeah, is so possessive over the name Avengers that he's not even trying to give these guys who saved New York a hearing.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit weird. That's what I mean. Like the world building's a bit silly, and that's why I still say they should reboot after Secret Wars. But they won't do that because they got franchises to maintain, like Spider Man and Daredevil and Avengers and Captain America and blah 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 blah.
Do you think they're gonna bring it? This is just as a quick prediction thing, right? Me and you both are dying, dying to see Charlie Cox on the big screen
Yeah,
because he's probably, if we're being really brutally honest, the only guy they have that's actually cool right now in the lineup.
yeah.
Right, like the only guy that we sit there and we honestly say, this guy is a superhero, and
Yeah.
we feel like he's super.
Again, I always say he is one of, if not is the best comic book castings ever. Like Charlie Cox as Daredevil is pitch
Phenomenal,
perfect.
phenomenal, like truly legendary. Do we feel as though the right direction is to kind of bring all of this under one banner? Is that what we're aiming for?
He's gonna have a cameo, and that's it. I feel like because he's right now shooting Daredevil season 2, and Avengers is currently shooting right now. He might have a cameo similar to No Way Home,
I would hate that.
but then also too is kind of like, what is Daredevil gonna do in this kind of big crazy extravaganza?
The same thing Yelena's doing, or U.S. agent. All of these guys they suck.
No, yeah, that's all we know.
Right.
Like, well, when they show up in like when Black Widow's doing stuff in Endgame, I'm like, okay, sure. Well,
No,
it does.
some of it is believable. Some of it is believable, but largely, like Tony Stark should put her in a suit.
I just realized Black Widow was the worst example because she dies before the big final battle. I mean, like when like Bucky's
No,
the
in
final
Wakanda
battle.
she was good though.
Yeah, fair actually. Yeah,
In
yeah.
Wakanda
Fair.
she was good because she was on the battlefield. She almost dies. She's doing her best. She gets slapped by Thanos as well.
But yeah, as much as I would love Charlie Cox to show up on screen, he might, but I don't think it will be in a big major role because he's even said it in interviews. Like he's currently like in the middle of the TV show, and I think Disney right now, in terms of their direction, they want to make the TV shows more disjointed from the movies, just so that they can focus on the quality of the TV shows rather than it all being super interconnected.
give us season 2 Born Again, wrap it up, because if they make a season 3 of Born Again and Kingpin's even in, like, if Kingpin gets 5 seconds of screen time, yeah, I'm gonna lose my mind, right? Um, but some characters deserve the promotion.
It's all just complicated film rights. That's the most annoying thing about Marvel, is that they don't own all of their characters. But okay, let's wrap this up now.
We might have to edit some of this out.
Don't worry, that's fine. What's a good way to like just end it? So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening
No,
to.
we have to say this is like not a first attempt, but like this is a new kind of series we've been
Yeah.
running, and then explain 127. Not the Harry Potter reference that you'll lose subscribers.
No. No, the one that can come in later.
When we've got 1 million subs. When we've got 1 million subs.
So that was our review for Marvel Studios Thunderbolts, or the Thunderbolts asterisk, but we all know what it stands for. The movie is The New Avengers. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of the 127 podcast. This is going to be a series that will be hopefully ongoing, to where we sit down, me and a guest, we sit down, we talk about certain topics. And also, too, this might just be a thing where maybe I sit down solo and I review something by myself, just to fill in the gaps in between the big, like, heavily edited YouTube content. Heavily edited YouTube content. Or just to cover topics that won't entirely fit within the branding of my channel.
No, don't say that.
Or just to cover topics and movies that I might have missed throughout the various weeks on my channel, because life gets in the way, life finds a way. So yes, Musa, thank you for joining me for the first episode of the 127 podcast.
My absolute pleasure, and hopefully there's good content for us to look over again, and maybe we can restart this conversation once we've got some new Marvel content that's
Oh, for sure.
worth actually looking in a deep dive, because this was nice. It was very enjoyable.
It was a nice conversation for sure.